The first wave of free agency always brings a storm of headlines and roster uncertainty. Frenzied signings, record contracts, big departures. And across the league, draft boards are suddenly being torn apart and rewritten overnight. But while the rest of the NFL was in chaos, here in Seattle, there was a calm conviction. Even though it's hard to say goodbye to players we loved, we know that discipline is what builds and sustains a championship window. So before we move on to our draft conversation, let's honor the ones who helped us achieve the impossible as they go and earn their well-deserved paydays elsewhere. For weeks now, we've explored scenarios here in the 12's War Room that assumed exactly this kind of roster turnover. None of the plans have changed from where we began. The speculation is over, and the Seahawks now know what they're working with. From this point on, the real draft board can finally take shape, and there's a clear path towards building the next version of a championship roster. Today, we step back inside the War Room, reset the board, and run a mock draft after the first wave of free agency. Welcome back to the 12's War Room. Welcome back to the 12's War Room. We are here after the chaos that is the first couple days of free agency. By now, you all know that the Seahawks have re-signed two of their free agents, Josh Jobe, and then just when it seemed that all hope was lost, we were able to re-sign Rashid Shaheed. As most people expected, I think we did lose a few. We lost Kenneth Walker, Tariq Woolen, Boye Mafe, and the one that hurts me the most is Kobe Bryant. Before I go any further, I want to honor each of these departing guys with one play from each of them that I think shouldn't be overlooked or forgotten. These are plays that helped the Seahawks on our run to the Super Bowl championship. Now, this first play is from Tariq Woolen. I will say that this is not an impactful play on the game. It's obviously well in hand, but it was a memorable play for me after 4 years of being criticized and even benched a couple times for his lack of strong tackling. We finally got to see him really make a good, solid hit on a running back, and it just stuck out to me from this play. So he throws him down. Now, I was proud of him briefly in this moment for finally getting into a tackle like that. He is going to erase that with a taunting penalty here, but the taunting penalty aside, we finally got to see a play from Woolen that matches the physicality of the Seahawks defense. This next one is from Walker. Seahawks fans will remember this as the play that broke the 49ers. Okay, it's getting late in a tight one-score game. The winner earns the number 1 seed. It's 3rd and 17, and we're about to punt the ball back to them, and then this happens. Walker takes the pitch, gets some blocks, makes some guys miss, and somehow picks up the first down, causing a collective soul-crushing for the 49ers and their fans and their GM and coach. Best of luck to our Super Bowl MVP in the next phase of his career. Next is from Boye Mafe. This is the same game, just a little later, still a very close game. The 49ers are about to make it a one-score game. Certainly Seahawks fans will remember this play for the interception made by Drake Thomas, but I don't want it to be overlooked that Boye Mafe, who really after a solid but unspectacular career, made a key play here by getting a hand on this ball, which is really what caused it to get away from McCaffrey, leading to the interception. So for a guy that did not make a ton of memorable plays during his Seahawks career, this is one that I will remember him for. So good luck, Boye Mafe. And finally, in one of the more forgettable games this year, but also one of the biggest, we have Kobe Bryant against the Colts. Now, Jason Myers is the undisputed MVP of this game, but I just thought it was fitting that a guy who his whole career has been around the ball was able to seal this win with an interception. One of the more underrated players on our team. I think I'll remember him most for causing Kyler Murray nightmares. We'll miss Kobe Bryant, but wish him the best of luck in this next stage of his career. Now with that, it's time to move forward and look ahead to the draft. What's interesting is that we just saw a frenzy of departures and new contracts all across the league. But what you saw from the Seahawks, at least outwardly, was this calm conviction. No overpaying for guys, no splashy acquisitions. Now, of course, I say that just as the Ravens back out of the Max Crosby trade, meaning the Seahawks could be back in play for the biggest edge rusher on the market. Check out episode 6 for a mock draft that explores what that would be like if we traded for him. Spoiler alert, it's tough to draft with almost no picks. But for now, everything the Seahawks have done has been right down the middle of the fairway. Even our own departures were expected. John Schneider, often talks about pivoting. When things don't work the way you want, you pivot and you go a different direction. I don't get the sense that anything in this first part of free agency really forces them to pivot from the direction they were already heading. When you have the type of roster discipline that Schneider does, you can fly above the chaos like this. So here we are. We know which of our starters have departed, leaving positions with some work to be done. There's still a chance, of course, that they could pick up some guys in free agency or in trades. All that could still happen. But for now, our draft needs really start to become clear. Let's look at our draft priorities in 3 tiers. Our tier 1 priorities are edge, running back, and cornerback. Edge remains one of the clearest needs on the roster, if you ask me. Mike Macdonald's system thrives when the front four can create disruption consistently. With Mafe's departure and potential departures, if not this year, then next year for DeMarcus Lawrence and Uchenna Nwosu, edge tops my list. Running back stays near the top of the list as well, with Walker's departure and Charbonnet's injury lasting into the regular season probably. This offense wants to run the ball. They want to control the tempo and maintain balance. And quarterback remains a big factor too, especially with Woolen's departure. Now you might say that Job was ahead of Woolen on the depth chart, but last season Tariq Woolen played over 70% of the defensive snaps. So he may have been behind Job on the depth chart, but that's a workload for a full-time starter. That tells you how important the cornerback position already is in this defense. Our tier 2 priority, and there's only one, is safety. And this comes from Kobe Bryant's departure, and it's an interesting one. It's expected that Ty Okada will be the starter now that Bryant is gone. Okada showed that he can play when called upon last year. When Julian Love missed some time last season, Okada stepped in and performed pretty well. But safety is a really important position in Mike Macdonald's defense. Kobe Bryant alone played 81% of the defensive snaps last year. That's more than anyone on the roster except for Sam Darnold and the offensive linemen. That's a lot of playing time leaving the roster with Bryant and very little depth if Love or Okada were to miss time. Then we get to our tier 3 needs, and it's need now because I've moved a couple of them off, but the remaining tier 3 need is interior offensive line. It stays on the board. Our offensive line was solid last year, one of the best we've seen here in Seattle in years, but right guard is still a position where Seattle could upgrade if the right opportunity presents itself. I did originally have linebacker and wide receiver in my tier 3 needs. Linebacker moves down the list after the re-signing of Drake Thomas, and wide receiver becomes less urgent with the re-signing of Shaheed, and we assume that Torrey Horton will return from his injury and play. Now, that doesn't mean these positions and others like defensive tackle or tight end are off the board entirely. As always, if the right player falls, the Seahawks will prioritize top-tier talent over top-tier need. Now let's head over to the draft room. All right, the board is set. Our strategy is clear. Let's start the simulation and see how the board falls to us. It's time to go to battle here in the 12's war room. Okay, we've had 2 very interesting players fall to us that I like, so we're going to evaluate this carefully. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is a great-looking safety out of Toledo. Excellent college career, very high grades in coverage and in the run defense. He played primarily in the box this last year, but he can do some deep safety work. This would be a great option if we want to prioritize that safety spot that Kobe Bryant has left open for us. Kedrick Falk is an edge rusher out of Auburn. He doesn't have the strongest pass rush grade. He had plenty of production in his college career from a pass rush standpoint, but I also love him for the run defense grade that he has. This is a big guy, 6'6", 285. That's almost defensive tackle size, but this is a guy that's hard to pass up on as well. Taking a peek over at ESPN, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is graded as the 28th best prospect in the draft. Kedrick Falk is all the way up at number 12. So he, at ESPN anyway, has a true first-round grade. There are no trade opportunities being offered to me at this time. I could manufacture one, but I think Kedrick Falk is a guy that I don't want to pass up on with such a great needed edge and a guy with maybe a true first round. So with the 32nd pick, we're going to go right into edge and draft Kedrick Falk. Now this is going to limit our ability to trade back as we go along here, but we'll see who now falls to us with our next pick at 64. All right, this is very interesting. We have some excellent players to choose from. We have 2 guys, Keontae Scott and Treydon Stoops, who we just passed up on McNeil-Warren, but these are also 2 really good options if we wanted to replace that Kobe Bryant role. They're both listed at corner, but these are slot corners and they play hard and fast, and I think that both of them could maybe eventually make that switch over to the safety spot the way Kobe Bryant did. We have Derek Moore, who I like, but we did just grab an edge rusher, so I'll skip him. Josiah Trotter, linebacker, not a huge position of need right now. I like Davison Ibnosun. I think that could be an excellent option, and I like Mike Washington Jr. These are our other two positions, corner and halfback, of great need this draft. I do see that we have a trade opportunity. Looks like we can go back from 64 to 68 because there are still several guys that I really like, and I'd be happy with any one of those guys. I'm going to see what we can get. Okay, we can potentially pick 122, and then we might be able to move up a couple spots from 187 to 179. I like that PFF has updated our draft picks with the official draft order, and the Eagles did accept our trade. So we're going to see who falls off and see who remains. Boy, only of those guys that I liked, only Treydon Stukes was taken, so we can still go with Keontae Scott or Davison Ibnosun or Mike Washington Jr. This is another tough decision. Let's check the trade board. Okay, now this would go all the way from 68 to 81. There's a very strong likelihood that all of those players would be gone, so we need to make a choice. I'm going to go with who I believe is the best player, Keontae Scott. 89.6 overall grade, excellent in the run defense, excellent in coverage. Again, played primarily in the slot, but this is a lot like what Kobe Bryant looked like when we drafted him. Played for Miami, so you know he played against the best competition that there is. This is who we are going to draft with our pick at number 68. Okay, we're going to wait and see who comes to us with our next pick. We have been able to meet our needs at edge, and you can argue either at corner or at safety, depending on how Keontae Scott develops. Taking a look at who's on the board, Genesis Smith is a good-looking safety out of Arizona. He could be an option. He is more of that deep safety. Going down a little further, there's Bryce Lance. The Seahawks apparently have a thing for players out of North Dakota State, but this guy played really well there. He racked up over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and a very strong grade. Now, we looked at Genesis Smith earlier, and there's another safety here, Zakee Wheatley, who I actually think I like better. Has pretty much just as good as coverage and run defense grades. This is a guy who played the deep role as well. He's a little more balanced and can play that slot role. So we're talking about another guy kind of like Aneeman Wari, who can be very interchangeable. And again, Penn State played against some great competition. I think we have several good players here, and we're going to see what trade opportunities are available. We could go back from 96 to 108. If we do that, there's a chance that we could lose those guys, but maybe what we're going to do is we're going to play the game a little bit. I'm going to slow it down. We're going to run this trade and get what we can. We're not going to get much from this trade. We're going to pick up 130, and I'll see if they'll give me their 6th round pick that we're going to use in a trade in a minute. See if they take it. They do. Okay, so we are now going to be resuming the draft. We're going to be taking a look and see if Genesis Smith comes off the board. And then if Zakee Wheatley comes off the board, then I may grab Lance, or if any of the other two, the combination of the other two guys comes off, I may stop it and try to grab one of those guys. So let's see how this goes. There goes Wheatley. And there goes Smith. So we are still about 7 picks away. Let's see what it might cost us to move back up. We'll give back that 6th rounder. Yep, they like that. See if I can get something else out of them for this without going below my 50%. From 174 to 179. This is going to be a big pick swap, but let's see if they'll take it. Okay, so we are back here now, and Bryce Lance is on the board. There's also Billy Schroth, but I think that there's a couple guards later on that are just as good, if not better. We're going to go ahead and grab a receiver out of North Dakota State, 6'3", very productive. And with our pick at 102, Bryce Lance is a Seattle Seahawk. I can speed it back up now. That's all of our trades for now, so we're going to have to go ahead and make our picks, and we'll try to be quick as we are getting later in the draft, and I'm sure you guys aren't too interested in who I pick up as depth or ready squad or flyers on guys, so we'll do this fairly quick. You'll remember that we did fulfill 2 of our 3 primary needs, and we got a receiver out of this. We are going to go ahead and look and see. Billy Schroth is an option at guard again, but I think Emmett Johnson could be the guy that we focus on here. Again, extremely productive in Nebraska, 1,450 yards on the ground, added another 370 in the air. Very good overall player. I think he is the guy we need at running back to help us fill in the void that we have currently. So at 117, Emmett Johnson is our pick. Okay, we're getting towards the back end here. We're gonna go ahead and go down the list. None of these guys really jump out at me. We've been able to fill some of the positions of the guys that I like here. This is gonna seem a bit of a reach, guys, but I think maybe by now you know I'm a Bo Stevens fan. I'm a fan of all of the offensive linemen that come out into the draft this year from Iowa. So we're gonna go ahead and grab Bo Stevens and hope that he competes for right guard this year. And this is gonna make us wait a little while. I do still probably, if I can, I might try to see if I can grab a taller cornerback. Keontae Scott may or may not work as an outside corner, and with Woolen's departure, I think an outside corner is needed. Okay, let's see who's available to us at 174. I mentioned outside corner. We have Julian Neal here. He's 6'2", has played mostly outside corner for his career. He's solid in the run game and has fairly good coverage stats. Let's see who else is around. If I wanted an even bigger corner, we've talked about Tariq Davis in the past. I think he's a better player than what his numbers have shown these last couple years. He only gave up 1 touchdown this year, but he did play limited time because of injury. He's also good in the run game, and he's a little bit bigger. Not quite the Tariq Woolen athleticism, but he could be an option. I think we should choose between either Julian Neal or Tariq Davis. All right, call me biased if you want, but I'm going to take the height and length of Tariq Davis over Julian Neal. And then we're going to go all the way down for our last pick. Anytime I get down here at the very, very bottom of the draft, I kind of have one go-to guy that I kind of like. This is Eric O'Neal, edge rusher out of Rutgers. Just sort of a workman. We're just, he put up a lot of decent numbers coming out of Rutgers, playing against tough competition. I think he could do just fine for us here with this pick 238. So let's finish this off. Let's see what PFF says about our draft. They're going to hate a pick or two that I made because I did reach a little bit according to them. Yeah, they did not like our Bo Stevens or Tariq Davis picks in particular, but they did like our first few picks, and so did I, frankly. Let's head back over to the war room and evaluate our draft and see how we did with the positions that we needed. Okay, we're back here to evaluate our draft. If you remember, our tier 1 priorities were edge, running back, and cornerback. We did find a player for each of those spots. We got Kedrick Falk for our edge. We also grabbed Eric O'Neal at the back end, but we're going to give ourselves an A for that. I think Falk could definitely be an upgrade over Mafe. At running back, we got Emmett Johnson, who I think could have a solid chance to compete for that running back rotation. At cornerback, now I'm going to mix this with safety because of Keontae Scott's skill set. At corner and safety, we put Tariq Davis and Keontae Scott in there, and I like the flexibility that we get with Scott. He could be an outside corner. He's a little unproven there. We know he's a baller, so we'll see how that goes. We got Bo Stevens to compete on the offensive line, and then we got kind of a bonus pick that I like for a receiver in Bryce Lance. I think he could definitely come in and compete for a roster spot and maybe even work his way up to that maybe 4th or 5th spot on the wide receiver rotation. All in all, solid draft. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you again for joining us in the 12's War Room.